Okay, I was going to make Venus in the 12th house Synastry video, but I wanted to make this video. I might even make a part 2. So, but I tried to film it to 2 times and it didn't work out. So let's see how it happens this time. So when somebody's Mars falls in your 8th house, how does this relationship begin? So 8th house is the house of Scorpio. Everybody knows this. This is basic of astrology. And Mars in the 8th house is basically everything Scorpio. So if you have strong Scorpio in your chart, you'll be able to handle this relationship, because at least to an extent, or at least learn some really good lessons out of this relationship, because it's extremely intense. But the best way to describe this relationship would be Mars in the 8th house is not for the faint heart. It's the kind of relationship where it's the house person who first notices the Mars person. The Mars person is probably very different from the house person, more extroverted than even if the house person was extroverted, the house person is going to pursue the Mars person as somebody who's charming, who's cute. I mean, it's so primal and so superficial at the same time. It's very hard to describe. You would think it would be like an intense attraction that you feel towards somebody. No, it's not. It's the kind of attraction where you're like, wow, oh, okay. It's that kind of an attraction. And I think the house person is the one who first pursues the Mars person. Even in most of the cases in my particular life, it has been the house person who has initiated their first contact with the Mars person. That's the third disturbance before making the video, but I'm going to do it because the universe doesn't want me to do this video, so I'm going to do it. So that's how the relationship is. Do you get the feeling? The whole universe, it feels like the universe is conspiring against you, but you want to be in this relationship. You just want to. You don't know why. You can see all the flaws. You can see all the reasons why this won't work out, but you can't let go. So I don't think it's a very smooth journey at all. Like I said, it is the house person who initially approaches the Mars person, and the Mars person is like, oh, hey, hi, oh, here is another person who's interested in me, kind of an energy. But the sparks are instant if both of them are single. If one of them is already interested in another relationship, or is already in another relationship, it's felt very one-sided. But if both of them are in that state of mind where they are interested in dating somebody, or interested in experimenting of anything, I mean, even if it's sexual for that matter, yeah, you can't ignore the spark. And I feel it's the house person who generally tends to have a lot of power over the Mars person. The Mars person is often very, very excited about anything with the house person, like literally anything. They could be drinking coffee and the Mars person is like hyper about it. But the Mars person doesn't show it. The Mars feels it on the inside. Even if it's an expressive Mars for that matter, it doesn't like fully express. But it's worse with the house person, because the house person doesn't express at all. The house person is like not expressing anything, and the Mars person kind of figures it out, but still is not sure if the house person likes. So initially, I don't think anything is conveyed literally, in the literal sense. Like everything takes off, but nobody really talks about the real feelings. And if you don't have strong Scorpio planets in your horoscope, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually bring about the original nature of your feelings, because it's often confused to be love, and it could be just obsession, or just a strong primal sexual attraction, or the kind of intense. How can I not talk about how intense the sexual attraction is in this particular aspect? I mean, it's the first thing you will notice, like you're intensely drawn towards this person. And to be very frank, it might not even be your usual type. You might even find that the Mars person, or the house person for that matter, is not really physically attractive. Like, or if one of you is more attractive than the other, you might be confused on why you're attracted to this person. I mean, how this intense chemistry is working out when there's no real physical attraction, if you know what I mean. Like, you don't find them as the most beautiful person on earth, but you're more attracted to them than how you would be to the most beautiful person on earth. So that's where the spiritual aspect of this relationship comes in. It's actually a very, very intense spiritual aspect. And if you work things out, if both of you are more spiritually evolved, both of you are extremely mature, it's good to work this relationship out, because of how much you would learn from each other. Scorpionic relationships are very, very spiritual, and that's where the transformation comes. So you need to enjoy the ride, or else what's the point of it? Why did you even meet this person? The initial part of the journey starts with a lot of breakups and patch-ups, and breakups and patch-ups, and confusion and stupid physical proximity in between. And it most often begins with physical proximity if it happens in person. Like, let's say if it's a virtual relationship, then I don't really understand. There will be like at least a little bit of sexting or something that's happening. But if it's in person, it will most probably get physical. I don't see this relationship ever being platonic or friendship. Like, it's not possible, like, ever. I don't see that happening, at least if you have strong Scorpio aspects. Of course, like, let's say you have, like, I don't know, I can't think about anything flighty. Maybe a Sagittarius moon dealing with a Gemini moon with like a Mars in 8th house. Maybe this might end up a little bit like of a casual, intense fling, but there's nothing casual about this relationship, like, to even say. And both people have a lot of control towards each other mentally. And if this relationship starts at a very mature stage, it tends to be this intense physical attraction that you feel for somebody, but you also want to control them, you want to manipulate them, you want to just tie them down and make them yours, and not want to share them with anybody. The possessiveness in this relationship is so intense, but one of them is always trying to run away, so you're constantly trying to do things that you can do to control them, and eventually there is mutual destruction. And this can be very, very scary, because the destruction happens at a psychological level. In most cases, there's no expression on the face, like superficially both of them are doing well, but internally they're destroying each other. And this pattern can continue for a very long time if one of them doesn't decide to quit, or one of them doesn't apologize. And it's very hard to apologize to each other when you have such an intense placement, because the ego levels are pretty high. So it can get into a turmoil for both these people if this starts off at an age where there is no emotional, physical, or sexual maturity. The biggest drawback of this relationship would be the difficulty to let go. It is the case with any 8th house relationship. you might not be even in each other's life, you might even be with another person, but you think about this person a lot and you obsess about this person, except you obsess less when you're not with them. The obsession is very high. It kind of opens up these doors that you have never ever experienced, or you never even thought existed in your psyche. And if it is an intense love affair, you will continue to miss this person throughout the rest of your life, especially the parts of that person that you had fun with, and it'll be very difficult getting over. How do you work this thing? Honestly, I have no clue. Honestly, it's try to not manipulate each other. Try to not think about who has more control. It's not a power game. It's not some kind of a power dynamic where you try to establish who's more powerful over the other person psychologically, because honestly, both of you are. Like, if both of you decide to make this a war, nobody is winning. Like, literally, nobody is winning. I also think communication can be very helpful, and it's better if this relationship takes place when both of you are single and not in any kind of a taboo situation or a circumstance where one of you. It's better to avoid this if it's an extramarital thing, or you're already with somebody else, because it's gonna complicate everything for everybody else. So I think that's my take on Mars in 8th house. I would try to do maybe a part 2.